But welcome everybody to our 2023 annual meeting. I sent the agenda out a few weeks ago, but essentially, and I know that we have some new folks who were not part of the working group closely, but we also have some folks who were. But it'll work very similarly to what we did last year, which was essentially working through local hazards, sort of cataloging those, talking through any new critical facilities that your localities may be developing or completed, talking through grant applications and awards, and then talking through some progress of your mitigation action items. And so this is kind of a, this is the first annual event or annual meeting of the after the 2023 plan completion. So we don't expect all of these mitigation action items to be, complete. But I do know, at least with my conversations from some staff, that you all have started to engage in the plan update and what was presented in that. So before we get started, I'd love for everyone to introduce themselves. For those that don't know me, my name is Ian Baxter. I'm a regional planner here at the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. And I am the program lead on our hazard mitigation program. So what we should do is introduce yourself and then call someone else. So I'll just say Sandy.
Thanks. I was writing down attendance, so sorry for the delay. Hi, everyone. Sandy Shackelford, Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, and I'll turn it over to Crystal.
Thank you. I'm Crystal Rittervold. I'm the Environmental Sustainability Manager, City of Charlottesville. And I'm actually sitting in the back of my car because we're having our department picnic today. So I'm relying on battery, computer, and Wi-Fi to last through this meeting. Hand it to Greg Harper.
Hey, everybody. Greg Harper, Albemarle County Chief of Environmental Services. So over some environmental programs, climate action included. And I'll turn it over to Josh from Louisa County.
Josh Gillespie, Louisa County. I'm the Community Development Director. And at our last meeting, we had Tom Eglin, who's been a constant for us for about 5.5 years. Tom would join us. I know Captain Luck has joined us, but Tom is on his way to the great beyond, not the great beyond, but the great wilds of New York, Maine, Vermont, and Massachusetts. So he would join if he could. And I will hand off to Douglas.
Good afternoon. It's Douglas Miles, Flavanna County Community Development Director. And thank you.
You got to tap someone, Douglas.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ian. Yeah, let's see. Peter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Peter Homan from VDEM Region 3. I'm the All Hazards Planner here. Ian, who's left? I don't know who.
Jeremy hasn't introduced himself.
All right, Jeremy, up to you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeremy Evans. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Charlottesville.
And as one of the unknowns, I'm Rick Youngblood, VDOT Planning Manager, Lynchburg District, which encompasses Nelson County. I'll throw it over to Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Brown with Appomattox Residency. We cover probably Nelson touches most of the counties there, but that's one of our counties we take care of from the Lynchburg District.
Great, thanks. And Sonny, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Sonny Sexton with Director of Emergency Communications Center and with Regional Emergency Management.
And then finally, Jim, last but not least.
Jim Friedel. I am the Planning and Zoning Director in Greene County. And with me is Melissa Metter, who is the EMS Coordinator for Greene County.
Great. Well, it looks like we have folks from almost all of our jurisdictions. I know that I might have to reach out to Nelson afterwards. I also heard from the UVA emergency management folks or facilities management prior to this meeting, and I can share out what they have. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. So I have a little presentation that I'm going to share. I had, or at least my other screen. I had depending on who was able to come, I'd added some kind of intro information about the hazard mitigation plan, but I don't think that anyone really needs that. So I wanted to kind of give you all the opportunity to kind of wrap up this 2023 update with me, and then I would love to take some time to kind of talk through the process and talk through any comments or suggestions as we transition into kind of a different type of plan that'll be occurring in 2028. And so, yes, we have officially had all of the 10 jurisdictions, I believe, that adopt the plan. They've done it. So we've been working really hard from about February to the end of or middle of May to get all of those adoptions done. Thank you to all staff that have helped me not only with the presentations, but engaging with board members, working with the clerks to get on agendas. I could not have done this value. And so we're officially going to start wrapping up the grant with VDEM and with FEMA. But as of right now, all of the approved resolutions have been sent over to FEMA, and you should be receiving, or at least the chair of your governing board should be receiving the official letter from FEMA in the coming weeks. But the 2028 plan update. So TJPDC staff attended a webinar last week, kind of describing what this new planning process is and kind of talking through some of the changes that were instituted. So our plan was approved in January 2023 and effective April 1st, 2023 is a whole raft of new components to the hazard mitigation plan that we did not have to incorporate. Most prominently, I would say the inclusion of equity considerations and climate change information within the actual statutory requirements of the plan. And so we attended that meeting. I took some good notes, but it's kind of, it's not entirely different because the spirit of the plan remains to, prepare communities for natural hazards and also position us to access, federal and state dollars to mitigate those. But there are going to be some changes in terms of both content, so like those two components that I just mentioned, but also thinking about working group composition. And I know we have some stakeholders here today that weren't involved in the 2023 plan update process that are really interested in engaging in the 2028 plan update process. But talking through the working group composition, I think, is also something that we could do today. With these inclusions of equity considerations and climate change information, or in climate change. Substance, the working group is going to be a little more broad next time. So it's not just going to be emergency management, stakeholders like primarily is right now. It's going to include other community stakeholders, and it'll be up to this working group, not today, but eventually to kind of decide who those folks will be, because I think that the plan itself is becoming more comprehensive and attempting to tie in hazard mitigation more broadly with other community efforts that I know that you all have thought about and obviously engage cross-departmentally in. There's some other information with NFIP, or more alignment with NFIP, community resilience. I think CRS stands, I forget actually what CRS stands for, excuse me. And then flood risk mapping. So there's some more technical components that need to change. But the phrase that they were using a lot is this right sizing the scope. Historically, the TJPDC has done this whole plan in-house. And so we have done all the map creation. We've worked to assemble all the stakeholders. But depending on what this new scope looks like, there's a possibility that we look to ask for additional funding to engage with consultants on some of the more technical components of the mapping or other weather data analysis. So we're working. Right sizing it's kind of a cliche phrase, I think, but we're trying to make sure that the scope that we present to the working group before we put in our application for the next plan update feels appropriate, feels feasible not only for TJPDC staff but also not only in terms of staff time, but also in staff capacity. Do we have the skills that we need, or are the folks that have the skills that we need in our agency able to work on this plan in a more comprehensive way? So our guidance from VDEM is that we should apply about a year, at least apply to FEMA about a year from when we want to start. And so we're looking to hopefully put in that application by early 2025. Just giving us about 2 years to complete the plan update, which was essentially the schedule that we used for this plan update. So with that, I just have, I would love to hear some feedback from you all, and I would love for you all to, lay it out. We think the process by which this plan is updated hasn't really changed since the first plan, I believe, was adopted in the early 2000s. But we're always looking to make this process more comprehensive. We can talk a little bit more concretely in the future about that. Once we've had more time to review the new federal regulations about working group representation and focus areas. But in terms of the process and timeline, frequency of meetings, manner in which meetings occur, going to meet with staff more regularly in an individualized setting as opposed to a working group setting. I just wanted to open up the floor before we get into the annual report updates for folks to chime in on that. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and feel free to just jump in and unmute yourself. Not everyone at once. Well, I'll take this as a.
I have a really, I'm going to take,
yeah.
actually, I had a really quick question. Once a scope is established and before it gets submitted, would it make sense to just do a quick presentation at the various localities to give everybody the heads up of what it is and what it isn't and what the timeline will be? Even though you have representation in this group here, I think being very public about the process could be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I know that might also, I think the expectation, in addition to coming in and actually asking it for it to be adopted, we did all of those presentations last summer to kind of do exactly what you're describing, and I think that kind of bookending it and starting at the beginning, I think that's a great idea. Because, with council turnover or board of supervisors turnover, it's always a good idea to get before them. So that's a great idea. And yeah, no worries if, no one has anything that comes to mind immediately. Again, I think that we'll be, we might not meet for a little bit after today, just because, we're kind of completed the 2023 version of this, but just keep thinking about that. And I think it'll be a little more clear what we need to do as we become more familiar with the new regulations. So I will go ahead and briefly share out one more thing I wanted to do before we started the annual reporting. I just wanted to briefly again touch on the grant eligibility component of this. That's the last thing on the agenda, I believe, that we'll be doing before we hear from you all. But again, this is sort of the table that sort of indicates what you're eligible for or not eligible for, depending on hazard mitigation adoption. And I just wanted to reiterate that the main two programs, and I believe there are some other ones, but the main two buckets of money, the hazard mitigation grant program and the building resilient infrastructure and communities programs, those are 75% federal and 25% non-federal cost splits. And so if you're thinking about accessing one of these programs for the variety of, there's really a variety of uses, from actual acquiring and relocating structures and real property to planning and engineering costs. So I know that in some of your mitigation action items, these grants are identified as potential funding sources, but feel free to coordinate with us and so we can reach out to our folks at VDEM to kind of start this process more formally. Both of them are dependent on federal allocations, but I don't know if Peter or if you want to chime in briefly on these grants and kind of the way in which folks should try and access them.
Hey, yeah, there's a grant there's the grant portal. However, I'm going to refer to some of my other VDM partners who could probably better guide that process more so than me. And I can definitely get in touch with them to provide you some feedback on that.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we'll be sure to send that out. But I know that we spoke with, in our meetings prior to adoptions, we tried to engage, county and city admin and board members to kind of point them to these programs as kind of this is the incentive that was attached to all of this work, that we'd be able to have folks be eligible to apply for these. So I just wanted to briefly touch on those. I'll send out the information again after the meeting, but Jim, do you have a question?
Hey, Ian, it's Melissa.
Hi.
Just a quick question about the hazard mitigation grants. Historically, VDM has picked up 20% of that 25% match. Do we have any indication that will continue, or is that going to end?
I will refer that to the VDM staff. Peter, what do you think of that?
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. I'm not full of answers on this right now. So the grant side of things is not exactly my area of expertise. I'm more on the planning side. I was actually typing an email right quick to one of my other regional partners to see if I can help answer some of these questions.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll reach back out with that info, but hopefully, I guess the answer is hopefully.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move into the annual review component of this meeting, and if there's no other questions about the current process and kind of the wrap up. So the way that I think this is easiest is that we'll go through each locality. I'll kind of call out the locality for each of these questions, and then feel free to give as much information as you'd like. Again, the four major topic areas that we're looking to get info on are recent hazards and events. So from between May of 2022 and today, any major events that have occurred, new or under development critical facilities. So new emergency management facilities, hospitals, schools, etc. Grant applications and awards. We'd love to hear from anything that you all have been accessing to fund any of the mitigation work in your locality. Then finally, if you have anything to share about the progress of your mitigation action items. So I know that these were completed or submitted to us last spring. So on some of them, I know some of them are longer term, some of them were carried over from the last plan, but if there's any update on those, we'd love to hear them. But without further ado, I will start with, let's start with local events, local hazard events and impacts, and I'll start with Albemarle County.
Okay. First, I wanted to recognize that Emily Policia from our fire rescue department has joined the call, and I will definitely defer to her on a lot of updates related to fire rescue. Sorry, I'm juggling. I can't think of any hazard events that have happened in the last year. Emily, I don't know if you're with us or stepped away, but anything come to mind for you? No, I don't see her. So I will say that the county recently opened a lease with the Fashion Square Mall, the JCPenney part of the Fashion Square Mall, to house a new fire rescue house office space. So I know they're running some operations out of that space now. I wish, and maybe when Emily returns, she can give us a little bit more details about how that space is being used. But that's the only thing I can think of as far as new critical facilities. Am I supposed to go through the whole list, or
No,
should I just?
I'll come back to you. Yeah,
okay.
We're gonna do it by category, but thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we have anyone from Scottsville on today, so we can move on to Charlottesville.
Hey, Ian, there, to my knowledge, there's not been anything in the last year or so significant event-wise.
It's good to hear. Let's do Fluvanna County.
Hey, Ian, this is Douglas. Yeah, I think we're also not impacted. And I'm also gonna say that I do know that I don't see Debbie Smith on here from Emergency Management, but I know that in the planning process, CIP financial CIP process, after the January 4th, 2022 major storm we had, I forgot the name of it, but the CIP plan was beefed up where things were added for things that we can use along power lines and other, going from ATVs to UTVs and getting more into certain areas because of that impactful. For instance, our county administration building was closed the whole week because the Dominion power went out. So, and fortunately we have numerous generators here, to run functions and whatnot. But that was probably in the scope of this rewrite of this was probably some things that positively came out of it. So I'll just end that.
Great. Folks from Greene County.
Yeah, we're talking about events,
Yes.
mitigation. Yeah. No, none to report. Fortunately, knock on wood.
But thanks for jinxing all of us, Ian.
All right.
All is calm everywhere.
Yeah. Josh, what about Louisa County?
Yeah, sure. So we had, I guess I mentioned 2 events, and also if Captain Luck, Timmy Luck, can join us with audio, he might add to it. In summer of 2022, we had a derecho come through, and it was really, it didn't register on the National Weather System. It had some extensive, but fortunately limited to property damage, but extensive tree fall and quite a few structures impacted. And we've had with some of the more severe kind of general climate conditions, we've had some heavy rain inundation that's caused localized road flooding that is beyond what we've seen normally. So pretty severe events. But fortunately, that's it. No more earthquakes in our part of the world.
That's good to hear.
Captain Luck, can you join audio? I was going to text you and ask if you can come in. Timmy, I can't hear you. You're off mute, but I can't hear you.
There should be a call in. Maybe his phone would be easier. See if we can't find that real quick.
But he's here. He may have something to add on the event side, but I'm not.
We can always come back to him if he's able to figure out the audio. And it looks like I don't believe we have anyone from Nelson County here. No, I don't think so. And then I know that we're not. I don't think the Town of Louisa folks can attend either. So, all right. Well, that's good news that there hasn't been that much. And I know that the heavier rainfall is something that we're seeing. Oh, and Jennifer, hi. We'd love to hear from RDMSA as well. We can't hear you for some reason. I think. We can come back to you. All right. So yeah, that's sort of the first round. I know that Greg, we can start with you again. Any new critical facilities, or yeah, what you were describing is definitely appropriate. But if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit more info on that.
Well, I really can't. And that's why I was hoping Emily would join the call again, because she probably knows.
I see
all
Emily
about it.
on here.
Yeah, she was here for a second visually, but maybe you could come back to us at the end.
Okay, that sounds good. City of Charlottesville.
Really nothing to report from mine. Unless Crystal has something.
I think the one thing I can add is I understand that we've been successful getting a grant to replace and upgrade the generators at Charlottesville High School. And that has relevance should that facility end up serving in an emergency shelter scenario.
Yeah, so sorry, I thought we were talking about something a little different. We were awarded a $645,000 grant to replace the generators, and we tripled the capacity. So we have some other projects to complete in order to make the school fully functional with those generators, but that's what's happening right now.
Great. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry. Fluvanna County, any new critical facilities?
Sorry, you know, as I was going back to the main email, I was trying to see if I could get Debbie Smith to get on here. I don't know of any. I do know, again, through the CIP and financial board adoption of our, you know, budget and everything, that we have had some things occur, but I don't want to speak on some of those. I do know we fortunately received a pretty good amount of new fleet vehicles for the first time in quite a while. So you can see kind of the trend of new public works and fire and EMS and hopefully sheriff. That's I don't know of any critical things. I just wanted to mention that again, but I'm going to try to email Debbie Smith. Thanks.
Okay. No, that's helpful. Let's see. Oh, so Jennifer. So Jennifer's saying, want to mention the regional drought during this winter and low level during past year. Okay. Oh, definitely can put that in. And I heard from the UVA folks earlier today, and I just wanted to share out theirs. I forgot to do it earlier. Sorry. So sorry. Only weather-related incident was there was a cold snap the week of Christmas and property damage, and helps them assess cold weather incidents moving forward. And then their infrastructure change was there's a new inn at the Darden School of Business, and they had to do the appropriate weather-related mitigation activities on that to make it so that it would have a generator and be able to function in both very hot and very cold environments. So, Jim, any new critical facilities in green?
Why, yes, there are. So since we talked about this before, we opened up about a year ago a new EMS facility. So it has room for 6 emergency response vehicles, bunk room, offices, training room. It's been a much needed, very welcome addition to our community. And we have acquired 2 new tower sites. We built 1 tower, improved another, are in the process of starting the final tower for a new $7 million 911 system that will increase our coverage in the community from 65% to 95%.
Wow.
So super, very exciting stuff.
That's really big. Where is the new EMS facility?
It is.
It's actually right behind the old building. If you want the specific address, it's 9825 Spotswood Trail in
Spotswood
Standard.
Trail. Yep, great.
And it comes without mold, and it's got space for modern equipment, so it's awesome.
Let's see, Josh, any new facilities in Louisa?
Yes, we do have new facilities, and actually I forgot to mention an event, not your normal hazard, but we had a vehicle strike at one of our stations. The downtown Louisa station had I think it was a 3 a.m. call that I got where somebody had hit our fire station and caused some structural damage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. On the facility side, And kind of generally for capacity, we do have a new facility. It's called the New Bridge Fire and EMS Station. It's off of Route 208, New Bridge at the lake, Lake Anna, going to Spotsylvania County. That is getting finishing kind of touches on the site work right now. And that's been a good project for us. There were a lot of private donors who helped support the construction of that facility. And really wanted to see increased and enhanced service facilities near Lake Anna, which is a growing area. We have, let's see, also on the capacity side, I should add, we have a new fire chief. I think those who know, but Chief Chris Hawk has come to join us. And she was within the department and promoted. So I think that's a capacity issue for us and is leading the charge there. The North Anna Power Station has essentially sunset the warning siren that could go off in an emergency and converted to a text system. So there's an increase in services being provided in partnership with the counties around Lake Anna Nuclear Power Station. And then on our redundancy and emergency operations, I would say that North Anna Power Station under Dominion Energy has added a significant capital expenditure in the last year and a half for basically like a bomb shelter, bomb-proof facility with millions of dollars of emergency operations equipment on hand. VDEM, I'm sure, is aware of all that, but that also should probably track on our reporting.
Where is that facility located? Is that in Louisa?
Yeah, it sits right outside the nuclear power station, so it's it is essentially, you know, blast and storm proof, and they exercise the equipment in there. I mean, it's a lot of heavy equipment, and it is a place in the case of an event where essentially it would respond on site from site.
Great. All right. Was that? What did you say? That's it? Great. That's a great update. Thank you. And I don't think that anyone new has joined. So let's start with or actually, Sonny. Yeah, actually, my fault.
Just real quick before you move on to the next, affecting both Charlottesville and Albemarle in the region. We've been installed and brought online in the last year an $18 million public safety radio system. It's a collaborative effort amongst a host of organizations, including the three main partners: City of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and University of Virginia. And it's a P25 radio system, or P25 compliant radio system. There's 8 repeaters that are situated around Albemarle and Charlottesville. So that's worthy of noting.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Do you have any specific weather events you wanted to mention, Sonny? I skipped you because I figured the Albemarle and Charlottesville folks might.
Yeah, no, I think my colleague said it, but if not, and it depends on the counting window. But we had the January storms last year, of course.
Right.
So, and I think we already had those included. But
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, those were significant events.
Greg, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I thought I would share this link to an article about this new public safety facility at the JCPenney site, just in case you wanted to draw from it later and take some notes. It seems to be serving mainly as like a fleet management location, but it will free up space in other buildings for for growth in the department, fire rescue department.
Great.
And I'll also mention, I did think of something while everybody else was talking. We were approached recently by a group of young architects, I believe, who wanted to do some kind of volunteer pro bono type work. And we suggested the idea of them looking at some of our existing county facilities to see what improvements would be needed in them for them to become or to serve as resilience hubs in case of emergencies, weather, etc. So that's just a little thing. I mean, we're not building anything yet, but we're just doing some preliminary planning to see what these buildings might need in order to better serve the community during emergencies.
So what kind of what kind of structures do you think, like churches or community centers?
County office buildings,
County office
the
buildings.
Yancey Community Center is an example of one that's sort of out away from the urban areas, but nonetheless, maybe fire stations.
Great. Yeah, that's really good. I know that Greg, I know that we can start with you again. I know that you had mentioned some of a few grants, but were there any significant, or maybe that was the city, sorry, but was there any major grant applications in the works or awards you want to highlight around mitigation efforts?
Yeah, we applied several years ago to through VDIM for some FEMA money to do a flood risk analysis in a particular watershed of the county. And we're now under that grant. So I'll talk more about the project maybe in the next section. But we also got a DCR grant in the last year for some flood resilience planning. And I was just contacted by, I guess, Department of no, I guess it's DCR again, their dam safety program, about a potential opportunity to get some federal funding, again, FEMA funding for some improvements we need to make to the lower dam at Mint Springs Park, if you're familiar with Mint Springs Park. And that's it. I see Emily here. Emily, I don't know if you wanted to answer this question about grant applications and awards, or even talk about any new critical facilities that you're aware of, besides the new JCPenney area, which I already talked about.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got a phone call I had to take, and I had to step away for a second. I apologize. You asked grants. The only, I don't think there is any major update. I'm trying to think. No, we're not using grant funding for some of the things that are happening. The public safety facility, that is a big project that's underway. It's got installed a few times, but it seems like it's moving forward. And we'll relocate all of our logistics section over there. And I think PD is putting a bunch of their, well, their different divisions have sort of bounced around which one's going there. So I'm not sure yet on that. The other thing that's worth an update probably is John has been building out an EOC at the county office building on 5th Street, a small EOC. Did that get mentioned?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it's a tiny space comparatively speaking to other EOCs. So it's not, it needs to be probably 3 times the size it is, but it's our old training room. And that's getting outfitted to support county operations as a EOC. We've used it once or twice, but not much. That's about it that I think of.
All right, sorry, I'm just finishing. Did you say, is that EOC for the county? Did you say John or?
John Aprandy.
Oh, John. I think you said John. Okay.
No,
John
I'm sorry.
is.
No,
Okay,
John.
I was like,
Aprandy.
oh, interesting. Great.
Yeah, and he's in Hawaii this week, so he's not.
I know. Yeah, lucky guy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was wondering. I'm glad I clarified that because I would have written John. Okay, cool.
We've been working through some of the procedures for how to open it, who's on the critical response group. And so some of that is just all work in progress, sort of, iterative pilot, doing it as we go, and practicing with it. There's this phenomenon that happens every time John goes out of town, something happens. So really, I'm the only one that's practiced open. That's not true. He opened it for one event, but it's mostly been virtual or hybrid at this point.
Let's see. Crystal or Jeremy, any grant? I know you mentioned I already written down the generator grant, but any applications you have in right now?
I currently do not have any of those in. Crystal may have some.
I don't know if this was mentioned in previous meetings. They're not recent applications, but we have some grant funded work that's going on. One is the resilience plan. And then we have two separate grants to develop 2D swim models for the Morse Creek watershed and then the Rivanna and Meadow Creek watershed. And I think that we recently, and Jeremy, you might know this, got maybe it's a BRICS grant to get some stream gauges installed, but I don't have the details on that right now.
Yeah, I don't have the details for that either. I know that there was a BRIC grant submitted from the physical security specialist, and he was trying to replace the generator at PD and a couple other places in the city, but that's still on.
If you were referring, Crystal, to the gauges that were put on the Rivanna River by Andrea Henry.
Yeah.
Those were free through a federal and state program. And we got a bunch of them that we put out at our dam sites so that we have like a virtual way of knowing what the water level is at our dams. But Andrea, yeah, got 2 or 3 gauges. So it wasn't a grant, but they were free. So same thing basically. And let me know if anybody wants more information about that. Easier, yeah.
Yes. Great. Anything else from the city?
It's sort of peripherally related, but we've put in a fairly major grant application for a project that we're calling Energize CHS. It's deep energy retrofits and some additional solar on that school. And again, in a future where it serves in an emergency capacity, then it would have, state-of-the-art air conditioning, LED lights, building automation system update, a number of other features that are, like pulling it into the 2024 first quarter of the century. So fingers crossed. We got good comments back, so we're waiting for an announcement in mid-June.
Where is that application to?
It's to Federal Department of Energy, and it's just under $7 million request.
Great. All right, moving right along. Fluvanna, any ongoing grant applications or awards?
Ian, no, I don't know of any. I sent you guys both a message. I did contact Debbie Smith. She was here this morning, and I'm not sure where she is today, but I will mention this generally here on our portion of the Rivanna River in Palmyra, quarterly we have a pretty good amount of federal staff coming in, especially during, as Josh Gillespie mentioned, or higher rain events. From USGS, other agencies that have been doing a pretty good amount of studies. And that was also, I think, leading up to the Department of Wildlife Resources or former Game and Inland Fisheries just put in a much greater and nicer boat ramp right here in Palmyra, which is used by a good amount of people in the region, not just Fluvanna County folks. So I apologize. I've got some pretty good allergies going here, so my voice is a little rough. But that's one thing I know that we do get the reports and the information in building inspections, I believe, for when they're taking those readings. Usually parking their van right there in the roundabout, and they're out there most of the morning up until about lunchtime doing some pretty good readings. And such. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Greene County.
I think we're just talking about grants right now, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about grants. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, grant applications and awards.
So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to touch on a couple of things, but maybe send you this document that I have. It's 2 pages.
Yeah.
Of grants from the last 12 months.
Yeah, that'd be great.
a lot of public safety initiatives, applications for extrication equipment, PPE, airbags, ambulances, medical tents. We just found out yesterday, we've been awarded a little over $170,000 for recruitment and retention. So we're going to be hiring someone part-time to start handling that for us. Some law enforcement things, we did receive an SRO grant, 3 positions for that. We have an outstanding LE grant for a VR system, some infrastructure stuff with water and sewer. We were awarded a hazard mitigation grant for the purchase and demo of a home in Twin Lakes at $253,000 for that. We have a couple outstanding generator grants, some things with Parks and Rec. We've received just under $900,000 over the past 12 months, and we have outstanding a little over 107 million that we are waiting word on. So just a little plug here, if your locality does not have a dedicated grant writer, get one.
You say 107 million in outstanding grant application?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yep. And I will forward you, she actually put this together for me yesterday, so I will forward you this document.
Wonderful.
So you have everything from top to bottom.
Thank you. Josh and Timmy, any grant applications or awards?
I'll just say what's outstanding, and then I can send you the same thing. We have, it's like 8 grants from the sheriff's office in 2022 and 4 grants, notable grants from Iron EMS. So I'll send you those.
Okay.
We're pursuing federal dollars for a grant to install a new radio and wireless station in the southeast portion of the county, generally the Montpelier, Holly Grove, Hanover County, Louisa County, Goochland County kind of intersection over there. There's a lot of dead areas for wireless signal, and we have interagency agreements for responses in that area. So we're hoping to get some federal monies to help, but we're also talking with some industry providers to co-locate on a new tower and join us. So that's what's kind of off in the offing in that part of the county.
Great. Jennifer, do you want to? I know that you were trying to.
I'm working now, so.
Great.
Yeah, we've got a couple things grant wise. We received an emerging contaminant grant from the Virginia Department of Health to add additional granular activated carbon at our Crozet water treatment plant. So anybody following PFAS, contamination issues on water supply issues, that is definitely a hazard, albeit not necessarily natural, that will be hitting every community very shortly here. So we've received a $3 million grant there. We're waiting on a flood mitigation planning study grant, and then we'll roll right into some of our remedial action at some of our low-lying facilities. We've received a design grant for the Beaver Creek Dam and raw water pump station. And we're expecting to get about $17 million in construction funds from NRCS for that project. We've got a couple generator projects, large generator replacements where we had previously small or partial generation capability, bringing in some larger facilities. And those are the ones. Oh, and then we do have the Central Waterline grant as a hazard mitigation grant right now, which is a $30 million application, as well as the second crossing of the South Rivanna River for water supply as well. So those grants are pending at this time.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Well.
Before we move on, can I just add, as people are talking, I was thinking of a couple other ones that might be worth noting because I was looking at our list and some of our mitigation activities involve reducing pollution and sedimentation discharge into streams. So we have a SLAF grant, so SLAF, Stormwater Local Assistance Fund grant for a stream restoration project of a tributary of Shanks Branch. We have a SLAF grant to do outfall restoration at Riverview Park. And then we've supported Rivanna Conservation Alliance on a National Fish and Wildlife grant to do stream work at Riverview Park. So those are kind of a different realm than a lot of the other ones folks have talked about. And then Greg, it made me think the city and the county put forward a grant to EPA recently to get some support, to support a community engagement component of upcoming climate adaptation and resilience work that the city and the county are going to work on together. There's a plan to do that regardless, but the proposal is really to scale up and out that whole opportunity to really have it be even more effective. So it's relevant since the next hazard mitigation plan has to consider climate and equity. And so this will hopefully be able to inform some of that through an exercise.
Thank you, Crystal. Sunny, do you all have any ongoing grants or awards?
No, not to report this time.
Great. All right. All right. Well, this last part of the agenda is kind of talking through some of the mitigation action items. I would say you don't have to go through the list and say not started, not like what you did when you gave me that actual document. But if there are, 3 or 4 you'd like to highlight that have gotten started or have changed in scope, I think this is a good opportunity because I think this is really valuable for localities to hear directly from other localities representatives to kind of inform their work. So we can start again with Greg and Emily in Albemarle County.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit of work related to dam safety recently. One of those is that we were approached by the state Department of Conservation and Recreation, who oversees dam safety in the state, to see if we'd be interested in getting what's called collaborative technical assistance from FEMA. So we agreed to participate, and we've been, Emily and I and others have been participating in what is going to be like about, I guess, over 4 months, 4 different 1 or 2 day work sessions with folks from FEMA and Department of Emergency Management and DCR and National Weather Service to, I guess, address what is sort of new information to me, and that is Albemarle County has a particularly high number of dams located within the county that are privately owned and operated, but have kind of flown under the radar for the life of the dam. DCR has been trying to reach out to property owners because they don't know much about the structures other than they've noted from aerials and topography that there's this large water body created by an impoundment or an embankment that could be like a real risk to the community. But there's just like not much information known about them. And so one of the projects for this program that we're participating with these other entities on is to come to terms with these what are now unknown risks, to better understand them, and to also do some outreach to property owners, help the state to connect with these people, and to hopefully offer them some technical help and maybe some dollars to make some improvements to their dams. Because the last thing we'll need, during the next 10,000 year storm is for half the privately owned dams in the county to breach, and for that cumulative effect to just cause devastation throughout the county. So Emily, did you want to add anything about that CTA program?
The only thing I'll add is that program, while it's specific to the dams, has been sort of a catalyst for some good conversations around all things emergency management, planning and preparedness for the county. So it's been very useful, and I think it's unfortunate that it's kind of, marketed. I mean, all of the same concepts transcend all the different risks and hazards, right? And so it's kind of unfortunate that I think people aren't necessarily devoting the time that they could to get a lot out of something that's pretty, I think, pretty valuable. And they're bringing some pretty interesting resources to bear. So.
Yeah, and Rivanna Water and Sewer Authority has been participating as well. I forgot to mention. Jennifer actually showed us around the Ragged Mountain Dam. Was it just last week? Anything else from you, Emily?
No, the only thing also on the CTA, Sunny, I have been needing to call you as a follow-up from the last session, because there's a session in the beginning of June, 7th and 8th, that will be about alerts and warnings. And we started talking about the county or the region switching to exploring other options, and they were interested in seeing if they could help in some way. So I'll be reaching out to Sunny.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And I guess it's already been mentioned that we're working on a county-wide flood resilience plan, which is going to probably be a 2-year process, part of our climate resilience planning effort. Also doing this flood risk assessment in the Branchlands watershed. It's a tributary to Meadow Creek. This is something we got a grant for. The point of that is to identify some risk, but also some mitigation measures to address the risks, because we just the county hasn't historically been in the business of doing hydrology and hydraulic analyses, to determine, is this building going to be underwater if there's a 200-year storm, and if there's any, is there anything we could do to reduce that risk? And so we're sort of getting into that business a little bit these days. And in I guess one more related thing is that we also historically have not maintained most of the drainage infrastructure in the county urban areas, even just because it was privately installed and privately, it's on private property, it's not in public easements. So it's basically private infrastructure, but we've decided recently, the board has to put some money into maintaining that infrastructure, because if a underground pipe collapses, fails, whatever, clogs, it's going to affect more than just that single property owner. It's basically all these pieces of infrastructure together essentially makes up a public system, and that system's not going to be maintained by the 1,000 properties that it lies on. It needs to be maintained by an entity, and the county is stepping up to do that. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, great. That's a good set of priorities. Sorry. All right. Crystal, I know you mentioned a little bit some of the planning that y'all have been doing, but if you want to go ahead and talk about what y'all have been focusing on.
Yeah, I think off the list, I was just mentioning we're completing the flood resilience plan. Unfortunately, Andrea Henry, who is our staff lead on that, is leaving the city this week. And so there'll be a little bit of a void on that process. The city and county staff are working as a team to launch essentially a close to 2-year initiative around climate adaptation and resilience planning. So there will be updates, I think, at every meeting for the next little while on that. It hasn't been sort of launched publicly yet. We're trying to build the pieces internally. Greg, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, but it'll touch on hazard and floods and things, but also heat and seasonal change and some of the other risks that have been identified by both of the jurisdictions. Yeah, and I think when I mentioned the stream related work, that's down here on our list, CL12. And then we continue to do the incentives for water conservation pieces. I'm not really sure on many of the others, so I'm sorry, I don't have anything else right now. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if Jeremy had anything he had to leave.
Right. He's still learning a lot about this planning process anyway. So I think we're great. Let's see. Douglas, anything y'all have been focusing on or that you've heard from Debbie?
I did just get an update from Debbie. She was out in an ambulance with a dead battery and just arrived back in the parking lot. So, I think she'll be on here soon, and can maybe do emergency management updates from our perspective, but no, I don't really have, I'm just kind of, looking forward to getting more in the planning and GIS stuff here a little later. So thanks.
Right. We can come back to y'all. So looks like Green left. I'll get their info. Louisa, Josh, what have y'all been focusing on? Anything from that list?
I would add, training was a high priority for us. We brought on board some new people. The 2018 building code is new. Hazard mitigation planning and flood vents, for example, is something we've been trying to get our people trained on, even though it's not something we see a lot of. So that's been we've been going after that. We talked about the citizen alert system. We're using that broadly across the county for all kinds of alerts, but specifically it's been implemented for the North Anna power station. So that's a kind of a check mark for us, ongoing, but still important. We've been recruiting and securing new EMS folks. So that's just a little bit of an easy one that's happening. I should note it's interesting what we're doing for address marking. High visibility address marking is being run by one of our volunteers through one of the volunteer fire companies. And so for a charge, I think it's $25 per plate, we can get high visibility address markers distributed throughout the county. So we've been promoting that and getting people who don't have that, reflective high visibility marker on their mailbox or street address to get that in place. Important and outstanding for us, the dam safety money, 3 to 4 million is needed for Bowlers Mill, and that's a flood protection measure for us, and it's important for us but ongoing. And those are the ones I wanted to check. Let me make sure. Let's see, we've gotten hazard mitigation into our overall planning thanks to the hard work of TJPDC and Ian personally and individually coming to our board and stressing the importance of hazard mitigation plans. We talked a little bit about burn permit process and education, and I would say that's probably been more important than we expected in the last year. We went through really a pretty historic timbering harvest in the last 2 years in Louisa, and we have had 2 fairly significant burns get out of control. And if Timmy were here to add to that, he could give a lot more detail, but I would say that probably should elevate for us. We have significant areas of the county that are farmed and significant areas that are forested, and often burns go with timbering. And like I said, we had a couple get out of control, and one became an environmental problem with went off site to an adjoining property and burned some junkyard vehicles and oils and all kinds of environmental hazards. So that was anyway, there was an educational need there for sure. And that's it for us.
Debbie, now that you're can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. We were just talking about some of the mitigation action items that were submitted. If there have been any priorities y'all have been focusing on, and then also any new grant money that has come into the county or is in the pipeline.
No, I don't have anything right now. Sorry, I was late. I had an emergency this morning.
No worries. All right. I think that is it. I've been taking notes, but I know that I'll follow up with some of you all to get. Oh, Jennifer, actually, do you all? I know that you all didn't have a mitigation action item section, but I know that if there's any priorities.
So all of
Sorry, I was trying to mute myself.
Oh, no problem. I was like, I got muted. So all of the dam safety priorities for both the city and the county we've been working on. Beaver Creek upgrades is a ongoing project for us. The CTE, as Greg mentioned, we also have a similar exercise with US EPA coming up on contamination events and drills and training and that sort of thing. So regional preparation for source water contamination events. I was looking, and we're also doing some flood resiliency work at all of our facilities. We're also doing some work on creating, for our cyber infrastructure, creating some redundant backup facilities, if you will, at several of our other plants. And that's probably most of what we've been working on that's pertinent here.
Great. And Sunny, do you all? I know that you all might be involved in some of the mitigation action items, but any update from you all?
Nope, nothing that the partners and didn't know anything.
Great. Well, that's
Hey,
all I have.
Ian,
Yes.
Ian, should we also check with VDOT just to see if they have anything
Yes.
to add? Yeah.
Anyone from VDOT want to chime in on some of their emergency management priorities?
Or just add general comments or feedback.
Or, yeah.
Nope.
I have nothing from my end. This is Keith. Not sure if Rick or Daniel do.
Thanks for hopping on.
I do have one more thing to add if I could. It's fairly pertinent. The drought mitigation planning that's under both county and city objectives. We've been doing a fair amount of work on that, and we've advanced a portion of our community water supply plan a number of years in an effort to provide additional infrastructure for drought resilience at a much sooner date. There's a $80 million price tag associated with one of those pipelines, so it's fairly significant. Our board just approved it yesterday.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Yeah. Well, again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I've been taking notes. I know I'll ask for some follow-up information from folks that weren't here or wanted to send me some follow-up information. It's probably the last time we'll meet for a little bit as TJPDC works to scope the new application. But again, we're probably not going to submit that until early 2025. But thank you everyone for helping with this plan and coordinating with myself, governing boards, and other locality staff. It's been really very helpful. But yeah, that's all I have. If anyone doesn't have anything else, we can go ahead and adjourn. And Douglas, I saw your message, and I'll hang on.
We just have about 5 minutes to ask you a few things. Thank you on planning, incorporating this into our new comp plan. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and stop recording. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.